Welcome to NXT. Not 2.0, NXT. Now, before I get started with this, and I got to do this, before I get started with the show, I'm going to try and condense this down because I'm not feeling very well. I've been under stress, so unfortunately. But I got to say this. This was a good show. I will not tell you it wasn't. They now rebooted back to square one. Back to how the black and gold used to be. Now, I'm going to say this clearly. Unlike everybody else who's going nuts because of how Triple H is running everything, I've been telling you the straight, honest truth. Do not jump on the bandwagon. Watch it. And if it's good, enjoy it. But don't start simping for them because we haven't gone through a year yet. We do not know how this company is going to react after a whole year. Because as far as anyone's concerned, everything's going to be great. No. This counts on the shareholders. If this doesn't work, remember this. And I got to say this ahead of time because I don't want to think about this later. The shareholders, Nick Khan and the shareholders, are the ones who's going to continue doing this. Yes, Steph is also going to be doing this. But we already know Steph is going to be the corner of a husband. We know she's going to let him do what he needs to do. If she believes in him, he's going to keep doing as he is. But the shareholders and Nick are going to be the ones who are going to make the final determination that this idea of letting Triple H continue run everything, and if the profits don't increase over the next year, what was the point of changing the entire curriculum of WWE? They have to see way higher profit margins, way higher attendance, and way higher sales in any facet of the company. Or, in many cases, savings. So no matter what anybody says, this is a whole year thing that if it doesn't work, we can easily see the old WWE go right back to the way it was. Not saying Vince would come back, but they could force Triple H to book the way Vince used to. If it gives them more profits. I'm just wanting to say that. Now, let's get to the opening of the show. We got Carmelo Hayes and we got Solo Sikoa. And HBK himself. So it looks like HBK is taking up the position that Triple H was taking as the one who ran NXT. Now, I'm not saying he's booking it. I'm not. I don't know if he is. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm not telling you he is. I'm just telling you who is on screen. And it's not William Regal because he's in AEW. It's not Triple H because he's got so many things to do he can't do it. It is HBK who is in the stand-in of his best friend who loves as a brother. He makes it very clear. Even though it was a great match, Solo, I'm not saying Solo, you weren't supposed to be here. You had no right to go and challenge for that damn title. You got to give it to me. And he does. He handed it over, but he does say, as I said before, I was next. And he walks away. Carmelo's sticking his hands out saying, now that you've done the right thing, hand it over. He says, nope. You lost. Even though he should never tried to take it, you lost. So when it comes to Halloween Havoc, we're having a ladder match. 5-way ladder match. You'll be in it. And there'll be 4 other people. Okay. Good setup for Halloween Havoc. Your question's going to be, will it actually be Carmelo Hayes? Or is Carmelo finally ready to go to the main roster? That's going to be the big question. Now, best of 3. We had Onyx versus Frazier, number 2. I did not expect this to go any other way that was going to be 1-for-1. There is no way. There was no way that we're going to let Onyx just win. Axiom. Sorry, not Onyx. Axiom to win. My mistake. There was no way he was going to win. No. They got to make the best of 3 mean something. So this is where it's going. Was it a good match? It was fine. 2 high flyers, very physical. This is what you get. Now, a match that I don't know how I felt about. That was Toxic Attraction versus Patterson and Niles. Now, here's the thing. I think the problem for me is that there's NXT Tag Champions. and there should not be NXT Tag Champions. There should be WWE Women's Tag Champions, Unified Women's Tag Team Champions. That should go across Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and let's say maybe once in a while they end up on Main Event. They need to go to all three major brands. No more Women's Tag Championships for NXT. They need to remove it, particularly that NXT is now changed. And before I get to this, well, let me get to the match. Then I'll talk about what NXT looked like. Was it a good match? It felt a little choreographed, especially when it came to Patterson and Niles. I didn't see too much wrong with Gigi Golan. Now, mind you guys, I gotta say this. I'm not saying she looks exactly like Paige, but doesn't she remind you of Paige? The only difference is Gigi's boobs are a little bit bigger than Paige, but I'm not even saying her boobs are big. They're not like C cups. They're like, Paige boobs were like A cups, nearing B. Gigi Golan's like B, nearing C. So you got Paige that's like this and like that. Gigi's like this and like that. She reminds me of Paige. Some of her work is similar to Paige. Some of the way she looks is similar to Paige. Nothing wrong with that because Paige has set the tone for many goth girls or emo girls or women who wants to just be anti-diva. That's how she is. I don't have a problem with it. In the end, Toxic Attraction wins, which gives them maybe one more step closer to the tag champs. And I believe next week is one of the tag champs is supposed to go up against maybe somebody. I think it's Carter. I'm not sure. But that's how I felt. Now, let me get to NXT in its field. Before I get to the members of Schism versus Blade and Ofani. I believe that's his name. I've only seen him twice. This is the second time I've seen him. So Afani, I believe that's his name. I could be wrong, but I do recognize the name Blade. Guys, we look at NXT. The logo has now been turned to white with gold trim and I believe some purple. Instead of just being black and gold, it is now a purple background with white in the middle and gold as the outline for NXT. Okay, not bad. When you look at the audience, the colors have now changed. Instead of being heavily colorful, it is now more dimmer or very white. It's either going to be very dim there or it's going to be very white there. That's a total change from 2.0, which was so much color. It was like looking at freaking tie-dye, man. That's the way it looked. It was all tie-dye. The music basically has been adjusted a little bit. When it comes to Vic as well as, I believe his name is Vic. When it comes to the commentators, they haven't changed much. They're still the same way. But I'll say that it is a bit different now. Now, would you like it? It's going to depend if you like the colors of 2.0. If you like how the colors of 2.0 was, you're not going to be happy. The only time you got to see the colors of 2.0 when they did replays from last week. Because 2.0 is dead. It's dead. If this was NXT 2.0 still, they would still have the logo 2.0. This is NXT straight, so accept it. As I've been watching some Dragon Ball animation comedy of Slick Goku, he says, "Take it." I have to say it, and I'm sorry for the clap. Now, we had the members of Schism versus Afani and Blade. Now, we did get a little talk with Schism when it came to Joe Gacy, making it very clear about anyone who may join us or anybody who's been given a chance, this is your only chance. You better do it, because if you don't, we're going to destroy you, but if you do, we will hold you in our arms. And they did talk a little about Cameron Grimes. Then these guys come out, and it's mostly due to the fact, I believe it was due to the fact of the fight that happened last week and a week before that in the parking lot. So they have a match, and the members of Schism, I can't remember the team name. I keep forgetting it because I understand that under the banner of Schism, but I can't remember Demonic? No. I can't remember it. I'm not even going to try. I'll just say the members of Schism. They won. Fine. I'm not surprised. Now, here's something that I don't know why they did this week. And that is Wendy Choo versus Core J. Now, we did get a vid pack from Meiko Sakamura. Now, I'm going to say this before I say anything about the match. Meiko should head to the main roster when the time's come. She should be the one that should be dealing with the Japanese wrestlers. If they're not going to do anything with Io Shirai, I'm not calling her Scott, and Asuka, they need a third Japanese woman on there to give a little more variation for Japanese wrestling. She's a legend. And I don't know if any one of these women have ever wrestled each other in Stardom or in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They probably have at one time or another. Maybe they've gone up against each other, but if they have not, this would be really great on WWE TV. See it on Raw or SmackDown. I want to see a Sakamura go up against Asuka and Io. That's what I want to see. Now, when it comes to the Wendy and Core match, I just don't know why it was there. It didn't make any sense. I understand the vid pack helped a bit, but here it wasn't necessary. Now, when it was all said and done, you have Lash Legend taking out Wendy. You could have done that in the back. It wasn't necessary. She could have been walking around. She could have had a segment with Mackenzie, who I still love, who, if you never heard, Mackenzie used to be in Impact Wrestling. Yeah. She used to be an Impact Wrestling girl. Now she's on NXT for quite a while, over a couple of years now, easily. And she's been in pretty good there from what I can tell. But this could have been done in the back. I'm just saying. Now, match 5. This is where it gets interesting. But then I don't really care at the same time. Look, Carmelo Hayes and Trick just came out. They were angry. Trick's trying to put over his boy, and pretty much he didn't need to. His boy could have done it himself. Carmelo could have done it by himself. No problem. Fine. All right. But then once Chase, you came out with, what is the guy's name? Angelo Chase. I'm going to tell you this. If it's Angelo Chase. I can't remember his name. I'm going to tell you this. When it comes to seeing them in the ring, Chase is good. I like him. Is his personality great? It's unique. He makes it very clear this is always a teaching lesson. I'll say that's funny. And it's interesting. Then he has a match with them. And in the end, I'm surprised they let him win. Particularly that Carmelo just had that segment in the very beginning with HBK. You would think that he would win the match. But I believe it was Trick. I think it was Trick who had to take the pin, which I'm not surprised. Look, I'm not against Trick, but I don't see anything with Trick. I don't see anything. He's more of a hype man than he is a wrestler. Not that he doesn't look like he can't wrestle. He just feels more of a hype man than anything else. So I don't like to see him wrestle. If they both go to the main roster, honestly, if they split those two apart, I don't think Trick will last very long. Carmelo, yes. He's got a lot of charisma. He's a good high-flying wrestler. He, in some cases, is unique in some, but he's still a high-flying wrestler that does a lot of the same moves as everybody else. It's got to be his personality and his charisma with that personality to get him over. I'm just saying. Match number 6. Von Wagner versus Sayag. I believe that's his name. I've only seen him once. Now, understand he's Indian. Guys, you know who he reminds me of? Who he gives me the air of? And it's not the great Khali. I believe he's Indian. From India. You know who he reminds me of? Muhammad Ali Shera. I'm sorry. He reminds me of Muhammad Ali Shera. Shera of Impact Wrestling. Now, as I've said before, when it came to Muhammad Ali Shera, he is typecast. He is muscle. That is all he's ever been. Very rarely has he been a good guy. And even though Sanjay Dutt put him over back in India, so he won the Impact World Championship, he never really got anywhere after that because they still typecast him as muscle in Impact Wrestling. Now, I do know he was working in OVW as the television champion, But I don't know if they did anything more with him other than just making him that. I don't know. And it's not because of the way he talks. It's just how he's been typecast to the point where I just think he's good with it. That's what it comes down to. It's not about being bad in the ring. It's about if you've been in the same position so long and it just, they don't want to do anything, either you turn away and quit or you try to find a way to get through it, and if they still won't do it, you basically just go with it. I feel like part of his stick is going with it. And when I see this guy, I see an early version of Muhammad Shira, where he could almost be considered to go somewhere else, or he can be muscle. That's how he feels. Either here or here. Not that this is a low tier. I'm just saying they're going to make him muscle to somebody. That's what he's going to be. And the question is, how long will he be muscle before they try to push him here? He's not Omos. He's not. Let's make this clear. He's no Omos, and he's no Braun Strowman the way he worked in the ring. He's got a great look. He does have a decent moveset, but will they make him more than just muscle if they go there yet? He's still new. In the end, Von Wagner won, and I'm not surprised having Mr. Stone by his side. This is what it is. I'm not surprised. The question is, where would that other guy go? I don't know. Match 7. There were way a lot of matches on this show. They could have done this with 5, maybe 6 matches, and they did development in the back for the people. Like, more would be done with Carmelo Hayes. They could have set up Carmelo Hayes with Chase a lot more. They could have done 10 minutes or 5 minutes of more character development for everyone and story building than they did this going into Halloween Havoc. I'm just saying. But the qualifying match for the North American, I'm surprised they're doing North American ladder match, but it is what it is. And that was Grayson Waller vs. Oreo Meshia, I believe Meshara. He is from Ghana, the gold country. I believe he's from Ghana. I think so. I did not expect him or Oro to win. I did not expect it. The match was not that great. It seemed a bit sloppy. It seemed a bit slow. And I believe it was on Oro's side that was slow and a bit sloppy. And you could see Grayson Waller slowing down for him. But he won. Really? I'm like, really? Okay. What are you going to do with him? I guess they didn't want Grayson Waller to have to job or anything in the ladder match, so they're keeping him out of it. Fine. The question is going to be, the ones that are being picked for Halloween Havoc, the other 3, will it... wait a minute. Is Carmelo Hayes having to qualify? I don't think he has to. I don't remember. If he doesn't have to qualify, he'll be in it. If he does, then there's going to be a question he's going to be going up against. I'm just saying. The final match of the night, and that is the number 1 contendership for Braun Breaker's championship, probably at Halloween Havoc. That is Madonna versus a Tyler Bates. I enjoyed this as the best match of the night for me. This is the best. I know the best of 3, people are going to say that was so good. It's the best match. This one is more due to the fact of several factors. 1, both these guys have now faced Breaker, so they have some history with him. Next, you can see that Madonna has already been given several vignettes, and you can see a personality from him that he's sadistic. He doesn't care. He's cold. He's cruel. And when you hear Stu Bennett talk about that, that does help. Then you see Tyler Banks. He has another story with him that he had that story when the UK title and the NXT title had to be combined. They were respectful for each other. They liked each other. And since it's a good versus bad, you want to see who's going to win. When it came to Braun, he won Tyler. But as you saw in the match, which was quite physical, it was good, but I do not agree about the pinfalls, the multi-pinfalls that did not happen. If I counted them right, it was between 12 to maybe near 14. No, between 10 to maybe 14 different pin attempts, and at least 7 to 8 of them were within a span of almost a minute and a half. That I don't agree with. I don't. Now, they did a 5-minute overrun on this show where they could have easily taken out the Von Wagner versus Silic, or they could have taken out Wendy versus Corey Jade to shorten that down a little bit, and that would have been better. That's what I think they could have done. I really do believe they could have done that. I really do believe it. They could have made it a little shorter, and they could have been within normal time. But it's also good to see they are doing overruns. In the end, McDonough wins. You got, and this is where it gets interesting, you got Braun Breaker coming into the ring facing him, and then you have a Dragunov. I can't remember his first name. I've seen him once. They had a match once on NXT with him there. It was a special, and I believe he was there, and he was trying to get the UK title there. I believe it was against Tyler Banks. I believe. I can't remember. I think it was him versus, no, it was him versus Walter. Dragunov was trying to get the title away from Walter, which he did eventually get it from Walter. If I remember, that was like 3 years or 4 years ago. And he gets into the ring. Now you got Dragunov who's there, who's going to probably come up through the ranks. You got McDonough, who's his next opponent for Braun Breaker. And you got Braun Breaker knowing he's got one guy here he's about to face. He still wants to face Tyler Bates. And now you got Dragunov, another guy that's going to come into the fray eventually and come up through the ranks, which will give him another challenger. So you got one challenger that's ready in the next 2.5 weeks, I think, 3. You got one that just appeared out of nowhere that's got to come up through the ranks first. And then you got Tyler, who will probably be next in line after that, next to someone he's going to have to face to get to him. So I will say this, that it was structured all right. I'm not going to say everything was correct. You got 8 freaking matches on the show. It wasn't necessary. You could have taken out 2 matches and it would have been fine. This would have structured the show better and give more character development to people, more vignettes to people. I still don't have any feeling for Quincy, what is the guy's name? Quincy Elliott. I don't feel anything from him. He reminds me of Viscera. He's going to have to convince me that he's better than Viscera. And it would have been better if he had something here other than the previous pre-recorded ones. If he had been here, that would have been good for me. Seeing more development for an Elliott. Seeing more development for Fire. I can't believe, no, not Fire. Seeing more of Toxic Attraction. Yes, we did see a Mandy sighting wearing a similar dress to her full skin. I have to say this because it's necessary to say. Guys, she's wearing the same type of dress. Well, the dress color is the same as the full skin outfit she wore last week. But I'm going to be honest here, and I'm not trying to be totally nasty and sexual. I don't know if anybody else saw this. I'm sure people did. You can see her ladies area in that full bodysuit, that zip-up one she was wearing about a week or so ago. She was wearing it, no matter if she was wearing panties or not. She wore something light-colored, and you can see her. You can see it. You can see the curves of it. You can see where the split is. You can see it was interesting. She made a mistake. This week, she made a good choice in having a full dress than just a full suit, like a zip-up sweatsuit. I'm just saying. And I hope you enjoy this. Give me a comment below. Peace.